The sun casts a golden hue over the vast countryside, painting long shadows across the land. Sarah Mitchell's farm sits on the outskirts of a small town, nestled between rolling hills and dense woodlands. The land is quiet, almost too quiet. The only sounds come from the gentle rustling of leaves and the occasional call of a distant bird. A large, weathered barn stands at the heart of the property, its red paint peeling from years of exposure to the elements. Nearby, a sturdy yet modest farmhouse provides a sense of security, its windows glowing with the warm light of the setting sun. Surrounding the house are lush fields, now showing the signs of hard work, a testament to Sarah's dedication. The sense of solitude is undeniable, but there's something else lingering in the air, a subtle tension, like the calm before a storm. Sarah Mitchell moves through her daily routine with practiced precision. A former Green Beret sniper, she once thrived in the harshest environments, navigating life-or-death missions with unwavering focus. But war is behind her now, at least, that's what she tells herself. Now, she's a mother. A protector of a different kind, large, weathered barn stands at the heart of the property, its red paint peeling from years of exposure to the elements. Nearby, a sturdy yet modest farmhouse provides a sense of security, its windows glowing with the warm light of the setting sun. The light casts a golden hue over the yard, illuminating the carefully tended garden that Sarah has nurtured from the ground up. She's planted rows of vegetables, a colorful display of tomatoes, peppers, and herbs, each thriving under her attentive care. Surrounding the house are lush fields, now showing the signs of hard work, a testament to Sarah's dedication. The soft rustle of the wind through the tall grass creates a peaceful melody, a stark juxtaposition to the storms she has weathered both in combat and in her personal life. The air carries the sweet scent of blooming flowers mixed with the earthy aroma of freshly turned soil, grounding her in this tranquil setting. Yet, the sense of solitude is undeniable, but there's something else lingering in the air, a subtle tension, like the calm before a storm. It's a feeling Sarah can't quite shake, an instinct honed from years of experience in the field. She often glances over her shoulder, scanning the tree line that borders her property, a protective habit ingrained in her from her time as a sniper. As the sun begins to dip lower, casting elongated shadows across the land, Sarah Mitchell moves through her daily routine with practiced precision. A former Green Beret sniper, she once thrived in the harshest environments, navigating life-or-death missions with unwavering focus. But war is behind her now, at least, that's what she tells herself. Now, she's a mother. A protector of a different kind. Every decision she makes, every lesson she imparts, is imbued with the knowledge that she must keep him safe in a world that can turn unpredictable in an instant. As the last rays of sunlight fade, Sarah takes a moment to breathe in the crisp evening air, her mind momentarily at ease. Yet, deep down, she knows that her peaceful life is precarious. She can't ignore the whispers of danger that float through the shadows. Her heart races as she thinks of the warning she received, the unease of knowing that trouble could be lurking just beyond her fields. She watches over her 10-year-old son, Jake, who plays near the porch, kicking a worn soccer ball. His laughter is light and carefree, but Sarah knows the world isn't as kind as he believes. She has spent years shielding him from its cruelty, providing him with a life far removed from violence. Her days are spent managing the farm, feeding livestock, fixing fences, and tending to crops. She homeschools Jake, ensuring he grows up smart and strong, not just physically but mentally. Even in this peaceful life, discipline is ingrained in her. But despite her best efforts to leave the past behind, some things never truly stay buried. As the last rays of sunlight fade, Sarah takes a moment to breathe in the crisp evening air, her mind momentarily at ease. Yet, deep down, she knows that her peaceful life is precarious. She can't ignore the whispers of danger that float through the shadows. Her heart races as she thinks of the warning she received, the unease of knowing that trouble could be lurking just beyond her fields. She watches over her 10-year-old son, Jake, who plays near the porch, kicking a worn soccer ball. His laughter is light and carefree, but Sarah knows the world isn't as kind as he believes. She has spent years shielding him from its cruelty, providing him with a life far removed from violence. Her days are spent managing the farm, feeding livestock, fixing fences, and tending to crops. She homeschools Jake, ensuring he grows up smart and strong, not just physically but mentally. But despite her best efforts to leave the past behind, some things never truly stay buried. Each day she fortifies their home, mentally cataloging resources and contingencies, preparing for a fight she hopes will never come. Yet, as the darkness encroaches, She can't shake the feeling that the tranquility she has worked so hard to create is fragile, hanging by a thread, waiting to be tested. With a determined resolve, Sarah calls Jake inside as the last glimmers of light fade. The sun may have set, but within her, a fierce light still burns. She knows that she must remain vigilant, not just for herself, but for her son, who depends on her strength and wisdom. A dark shadow looms over the countryside, one that Sarah can no longer ignore. Cole Braddock and his gang of outlaws have been terrorizing farmers in the area, taking whatever they want with no fear of consequence. Their reputation is built on fear, and the town's law enforcement is either too afraid or too corrupt to stop them. They've been making their rounds, demanding payment for protection. Those who refuse suffer the consequences: burned fields, stolen livestock, and, in some cases, families driven from their homes. Sarah hasn't been targeted yet, but she knows it's only a matter of time. The warning comes sooner than expected. A letter, nailed to her front door with a rusted knife. She stares at the words, her mind immediately assessing the situation. No signature, no direct threat, but the message is clear. They are coming, and they have no idea who they're dealing with. Sarah grips the note, her thoughts racing. Her farm is more than just land. It's all she has left of her late husband, who died in an accident 3 years ago. She refused to abandon it then, and she won't abandon it now. But the most important thing, Jake, that they've been making their rounds, demanding payment for protection. Those who refuse suffer the consequences: burned fields, stolen livestock, and, in some cases, families driven from their homes. Sarah hasn't been targeted yet, but she knows it's only a matter of time. The warning comes sooner than expected. One evening, as twilight descends, she approaches her front door, her hand brushing against the cool wood. Her heart sinks when she notices something amiss: a letter, crudely nailed to her front door with a rusted knife. She stares at the words, her mind immediately assessing the situation. "You're next," it reads, ominous and stark against the aged paper. No signature, no direct threat, but the message is clear. They are coming, and they have no idea who they're dealing with. Sarah grips the note tightly, her knuckles whitening as her thoughts race. Her farm is more than just land. It's all she has left of her late husband, who died in an accident 3 years ago. She refused to abandon it then, and she won't abandon it now. But the most important thing, Jake. She knows she must prepare. She cannot afford to show weakness, not now, not ever. Taking a deep breath, she forces herself to remain calm. She heads to the kitchen, preparing a simple dinner for Jake while her mind races with plans and strategies. As she cooks, her thoughts drift to her past, a past filled with discipline, training, and an unwavering sense of duty. Jake bounds into the kitchen, his youthful energy a bright contrast to the heavy atmosphere. "What's for dinner, Mom?" he asks, his eyes shining with innocence. Sarah smiles, her heart aching with love and determination. She watches as he hops onto a stool, eagerly helping her set the table, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing outside. As they eat, she makes a mental checklist of everything she needs to do: secure the barn, check the perimeter, and dig out her old rifle from its hidden spot. She may be a mother, but she is also a warrior. He is her world, her greatest purpose. And if these men come for her land, they will be coming for him too. Sarah looks out over the fields, the sun now dipping below the horizon. A chill runs through her, but it's not from the cold. It's the undeniable feeling that a storm is coming. A storm she has no choice but to face. And for the first time in years, she allows herself to step back into the mindset she thought she had left behind. The warrior within her stirs. The morning air is crisp, the scent of damp earth lingering from the night's rain. Sarah steps onto the porch, coffee in hand, ready to begin another day of hard work. But something isn't right. She notices cutting through the dirt road near the farm. They don't belong to her truck or any of her usual visitors. A ripple of unease creeps through her. Later that day, her neighbor, an aging rancher with a rifle always slung over his shoulder, stops by. "Heard what happened over at the Carter's place?" he asks grimly. Sarah shakes her head. Cole Braddock and his boys burned their barn to the ground last night. Left em with nothing. Sheriff won't do a damn thing. The Carters were just like Sarah, and now they had nothing. That evening, as she's bringing the horses into the stable, she feels, from the far end of the field, stand just beyond the tree line. watching, waiting. Sarah doesn't react, at least, not visibly. Instead, she calmly leads the horses in, locking the stable behind her. But inside, her instincts scream. The next afternoon, the confrontation comes. A pulls into her driveway, 3 men climbing out. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a smug grin, flanked by 2 of his men, both armed, both wearing the confidence of men who never face real resistance. Miss Mitchell, Cole drawls, tipping his hat mockingly. Heard you were new around here. Thought we'd come by, introduce ourselves. Sarah doesn't flinch. She studies them, her sharp eyes catching. I've been here long enough, she replies coolly. And I know exactly who you are. Cole chuckles. That's so. Then you know how things work round here. See, my boys and I, we look after folks. Keep the peace. But peace costs money. Sarah leans against the porch railing, arms crossed. I don't need your protection. Wyatt sneers. A woman like you, all alone? Ain't safe. Lot of bad people out here. Sarah holds their gaze. If I were you, she says quietly, I'd turn around and forget you ever set foot on my land. Cole laughs. He turns to his men, shaking his head. See, that's the thing about folks like you. Think you can just stand up to men like me. But sooner or later, you'll learn. He steps closer, towering over her. Everyone learns. Sarah. She lets a beat of silence stretch between them, then tilts her head. I'll give you one chance, she says smoothly. Get back in your truck. Drive away. Pretend this never happened. Cole chuckles, the sound low and menacing, as if he's savoring a private joke. That's so. Then you know how things work round here. See, my boys and I, we look after folks. Keep the peace. But peace costs money. His words hang heavy in the air, an implicit threat disguised as a service. Sarah leans against the porch railing, her arms crossed tightly over her chest, a shield against their intimidation. I don't need your protection, she replies, her voice steady, unwavering. Wyatt, the muscle of the group, sneers, a twisted smile on his lips. A woman like you, all alone? Ain't safe. Lot of bad people out here. He looks at her like she's prey, a target that's ripe for the taking. But Sarah holds their gaze, refusing to let fear creep into her expression. She can feel the tension crackling like electricity, but she won't back down. If I were you, she says quietly, her voice low and controlled, I'd turn around and forget you ever set foot on my land. Cole's laughter booms again, a harsh, mocking sound that echoes in the stillness of the evening. He turns to his men, shaking his head in disbelief. See, that's the thing about folks like you. Think you can just stand up to men like me. But sooner or later, you'll learn. He steps closer, his imposing figure towering over her, casting a long shadow that stretches ominously across the porch. The scent of whiskey and sweat clings to him, an unmistakable reminder of his reckless lifestyle. Everyone learns, he adds, a glint of menace in his eyes. But Sarah remains resolute. She lets a beat of silence stretch between them, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Then, tilting her head slightly, she studies him with a calm demeanor that seems to infuriate him further. I'll give you one chance, she says smoothly, her tone cool and collected. Get back in your truck. Drive away. Pretend this never happened. The air grows heavier as she finishes her ultimatum, her heart pounding in her chest, adrenaline coursing through her veins. She knows the risks she's taking, but the defiance in her heart pushes her forward. For a moment, there's a flicker of uncertainty in Cole's eyes, as if he's weighing his options. But then, his bravado resurfaces, and he throws his head back, laughing uproariously. Oh, you've got guts, I'll give you that, he says, leaning in closer. But guts don't mean squat out here. You think you can scare us off with some tough talk? We'll see about that. Wyatt and the other men snicker, emboldened by their leader's bravado. Cole steps back, waving a dismissive hand. Let's go, boys. She thinks she's tough now, but we'll show her what happens when you cross the wrong people. As they turn to leave, Sarah feels a sense of urgency well up inside her. She knows she can't let them think they've won, can't allow them to feel like they can come and go as they please. With a sudden surge of determination, she calls out to them, her voice firm and unwavering. You think this is just a game? You're mistaken. Cole pauses, glancing over his shoulder, a smirk still plastered on his face. "What's that? You gonna call the cops on us, sweetheart?" "No," she replies, her eyes narrowing. "I'm going to make sure you regret ever stepping foot on my property." As they drive away, Sarah can feel the weight of their threat hanging in the air, but she won't let it crush her spirit. Instead, it fuels her resolve. They may think they're the hunters, but she knows how to turn the tables. The stakes have just risen, and she is more than ready for the fight ahead. Cole squints at her, amusement flickering into. "Or what?" he scoffs. Sarah smiles. "Not wide. Or you'll regret it." For a split second. He doesn't know why, but something about this woman unsettles him. Then, as quickly as it came, he pushes it aside. He grins. "We'll be seeing you, Miss Mitchell." The outlaws turn and walk back to their truck. Wyatt spits into the dirt, smirking. Sarah watches them leave, her hands still at her sides. She waits until the dust settles, then. Her movements are swift, deliberate. She locks the doors. Then she heads to the back room. Inside, nestled beneath a folded military jacket, carefully maintained despite years of disuse. A handgun, extra magazines, a combat knife. Sarah runs a hand over the rifle's barrel. But some fights, they come to you. Back in town, at a seedy old bar, Cole slams his drink onto the counter. "Damn woman thinks she's better than us," he growls. "We'll teach her a lesson." Wyatt smirks. "She's got guts. Ain't gonna mean much when we roll in tonight." He grins, a crooked smile that doesn't reach his eyes. "We'll be seeing you, Miss Mitchell." The words hang in the air like a threat, heavy and foreboding. The outlaws turn and saunter back to their truck, their swagger a stark contrast to Sarah's tense demeanor. Wyatt, the most brazen of the group, spits into the dirt, smirking as he glances back at her. Sarah watches them leave, her hands still at her sides, fists clenched in quiet resolve. The sound of the truck's engine rumbling to life pierces the silence of her farm, and she stands rooted to the spot, a storm brewing within her. She waits until the dust settles, until the sound of their laughter fades into the distance, and only then does she spring into action. Her movements are swift, deliberate. The safety of her home offers little comfort against the threat looming on the horizon, but it's a start. Then she heads to the back room, a space she has avoided since her husband passed. It was once filled with the warmth of their shared memories, but now it feels cold and foreign. Inside, nestled beneath a folded military jacket, his old jacket worn and faded, the fabric still holding onto the scent of him, lies her past, carefully maintained despite years of disuse. A handgun rests nearby, alongside extra magazines and a combat knife, all reminders of the life she fought to leave behind. Sarah runs a hand over the rifle's barrel, her fingers tracing the grooves and contours. But some fights, they come to you. She can no longer ignore the danger creeping closer, nor can she turn away from the fight that has found her once more. This time, she will not be the passive recipient of violence. She will be the force that defends her home, her son, and her very life. Back in town, at a seedy old bar, the atmosphere is thick with tension and the smell of spilled beer. Cole slams his drink onto the counter, the glass rattling against the wood as he leans forward, anger radiating off him in waves. "Damn woman thinks she's better than us," he growls, his voice low and menacing. "We'll teach her a lesson." Wyatt, leaning back with a cocky grin plastered on his face, smirks. "She's got guts. Ain't gonna mean much when we roll in tonight." He takes a long swig of his drink, relishing the thought of the chaos they plan to unleash. The two men exchange wicked smiles, a bond forged in a shared sense of superiority and entitlement. They underestimate her, and it will be their downfall. As they clink their glasses together, celebrating their malicious intentions, Sarah tightens her grip on her rifle, a fire igniting in her chest. The world may see her as a single mother, but beneath that exterior lies a warrior, prepared to protect her home at all costs. Jace leans forward. "You sure about this? She's just one woman." Cole's eyes darken. "She disrespected me. No one does that and gets away with it. Tonight, under the cover of darkness. They think she'll be. They don't know she's listening." From Sarah watches through, perched in the shadows of an abandoned water tower outside the bar. And as she silently slips away, midnight, A thick blanket of darkness covers the land, the only sound the chirping of crickets and the occasional hoot of an owl. But Sarah is awake. From her hidden vantage point in the barn's loft, then, movement. Cole and his men in the shadows. Sarah's lips curl into a grim smile. Jace leans forward, concern etched on his face. "You sure about this? She's just one woman." His voice wavers slightly, hinting at the doubt that creeps into even the most hardened hearts. Cole's eyes darken, the flickering bar light casting shadows across his hardened features. "She disrespected me. No one does that and gets away with it." His voice is low and dangerous, a promise of violence that hangs in the air like a thick fog. He has a score to settle, and he won't rest until he's made Sarah pay for her defiance. The Outlaws make their plans, plotting their assault for that very night, under the cover of darkness. They think she's just an easy target, a widow living on a secluded farm, vulnerable and unprotected. They think she'll cower in fear when they arrive. What they don't know is that she's listening, gathering every word, every detail. Perched in the shadows of an abandoned water tower outside the bar, Sarah listens intently, her heart pounding with a mix of adrenaline and purpose. The darkness of the night wraps around her, a comforting cloak as she absorbs the weight of their intentions. And as she silently slips away, she knows the time for action is drawing near. A thick blanket of darkness covers the land, the only sounds the chirping of crickets and the occasional hoot of an owl. But Sarah is wide awake, her senses heightened, her mind focused. From her hidden vantage point in the barn's loft, she surveys her territory with the keen eyes of a predator, every nerve ending alert and ready. Then, movement. Shadows flicker against the moonlit fields as Cole and his men creep toward her farmhouse, their figures dark against the light of the stars. Sarah's lips curl into a grim smile, a mix of determination and anticipation flooding her veins. The sense of dread that had settled over her for days now transforms into a steely resolve. She can feel the weight of her rifle in her hands, a reminder of her training and the fierce love she has for her son. From her position, she can see them clearly, their arrogance palpable as they approach, laughing amongst themselves, oblivious to the danger lurking in the shadows. They think they have the upper hand, but tonight, they will learn that Sarah Mitchell is not to be underestimated. She takes a deep breath, centering herself, letting the memories of her past, her training, her comrades, the battle she fought, fuel her courage. With practiced precision, she checks her rifle one last time, the sound of the bolt sliding into place echoing in the stillness of the barn as she prepares to take her stand. Sarah knows that the storm she sensed earlier has finally arrived. And when the first shot rings out, it will mark the beginning of a battle that will change everything. She at the lead truck parked on the road. A single pierces the night. Another shot. The gang. What the hell? Wyatt hisses. They Sarah. She navigates the land, using the traps she set hours ago. The first outlaw steps forward, his foot catches on an almost invisible tripwire. Leaving him dangling upside down, flailing and cursing. "Damn it! Get me down!" Cole and the others, a precise sniper round slams into Wyatt's shoulder, sending him. "What the hell is happening?" Another outlaw yells, his hands shaking. He's dug deep into the earth and camouflaged with leaves. Panic. "It's just one woman." Cole barks. "Spread out. Find her." But they came here thinking they were the hunters. No. Cole, realizing what's happening. "All right, lady," he shouts into the night. "Enough games. You wanna fight me? Let's do this face to face." Sarah moves with the quiet grace of a shadow, navigating her land with the traps she set hours earlier. Every step she takes is calculated, every breath controlled. The adrenaline surges through her, sharpening her focus as she anticipates their movements. The first outlaw steps forward, overconfident, and his foot catches on an almost invisible tripwire she had expertly concealed. In an instant, he's yanked off his feet, leaving him dangling upside down, flailing and cursing. "Damn it! Get me down!" he yells, the panic in his voice rising as he struggles against the pull of the rope. Cole and the others freeze, their bravado suddenly punctured by the unexpected turn of events. Sarah watches from her perch, a small smirk forming on her lips. Before they can gather their wits, a precise sniper round slams into Wyatt's shoulder, sending him crashing to the ground with a pained grunt. "What the hell is happening?" Another outlaw yells, his hands shaking as he tries to comprehend the chaos erupting around him. Unbeknownst to them, Sarah had dug deep pits and camouflaged them with leaves, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Panic spreads among the gang, their confidence crumbling like the dirt beneath their feet. "It's just one woman," Cole barks, desperation creeping into his voice. "Spread out. Find her." The sense of authority he once held is slipping away, replaced by a frantic urgency. They came here thinking they were the hunters, but now it's clear they are the prey. Realization dawns on Cole as he watches his men stumble through the darkness, each one falling victim to the trap Sarah meticulously crafted. Fear gnaws at the edges of his bravado, a cold sweat breaking out across his brow. "All right, lady," he shouts into the night, his voice reverberating against the silence. "Enough games. You wanna fight me? Let's do this face to face." His challenge hangs in the air, laden with both defiance and dread, but Sarah knows that he underestimates the situation. She moves silently, a predator poised to strike, her heart steady as she readies herself for the final confrontation. Cole's bravado may be loud, but Sarah's resolve is deeper, forged in the fires of her past. In this moment, as the chaos unfolds, she feels a surge of clarity. She is no longer just a woman defending her home. She is a force to be reckoned with, a protector willing to do whatever it takes to keep her son safe. "Come and find me, Cole," she whispers to herself, her voice barely audible above the rustling leaves. "You'll wish you hadn't." And with that, she prepares for the inevitable clash, knowing that this fight will not just be for her farm but for everything she holds dear. Silence. Then, not sneaking. She walks, her rifle slung across her back. Cole's smirk flickers. "You don't look so tough," he sneers. "Sarah." Cole lunges. In a Sarah. Before he can react. "This is the part where you beg," she murmurs. "Cole," he Sarah, quickly. She, staring down at him. "Next time," she says coldly, "pick your battles wisely." The remaining gang members? Running. Terrified. Sarah takes out her phone and dials. "Sheriff, you might want to come pick up some trash." The night falls silent once more. And Sarah, because this is her land. Red and blue lights as the sheriff's deputies swarm the farm. Cole, his cocky smirk. The sheriff, a grizzled man named, looks down at him and shakes his head. "You just had to pick the wrong damn farm, huh?" Weller mutters before signaling his men to haul Cole away. They are rounded up. Sarah watches in silence, her rifle still slung across her back. The sheriff approaches. "Next time," Sarah says coldly, her voice steady and unwavering, "pick your battles wisely." Her words hang in the air, a stark reminder of the fate that has befallen the gang. The remaining outlaws? They scatter, running for their lives, terror etched across their faces as they flee from the farm that was supposed to be an easy target. In the aftermath of the chaos, Sarah takes out her phone and dials with a calm precision. "Sheriff, you might want to come pick up some trash," she says, her voice betraying nothing of the adrenaline still coursing through her veins. The night falls silent once more, the only sound being the soft rustle of the wind through the trees. And Sarah. She stands tall, feeling the weight of her rifle still slung across her back. This is her land, her sanctuary, and she has fought to protect it. Soon, the piercing red and blue lights of the sheriff's squad cars illuminate the darkness as the deputies swarm the farm, their vehicles kicking up dust as they come to a halt. Cole, on the ground, feels the shift in power as the sheriff approaches. His cocky smirk has faded, replaced by a look of disbelief as he realizes the extent of his failure. The sheriff, a grizzled man named Weller with a reputation for being no-nonsense, looks down at Cole and shakes his head. "You just had to pick the wrong damn farm, huh?" Weller mutters, almost to himself, before signaling his men to haul Cole away. As the deputies round up the gang members, Sarah watches in silence, her heart still pounding from the encounter. She remains composed, the adrenaline slowly fading into a sense of relief. Each outlaw is cuffed and led away, their bravado shattered, their confidence obliterated. Weller approaches Sarah, his expression shifting from one of stern authority to respect. "You did good, Sarah," he says, nodding appreciatively at her. "Real good. I didn't think you had it in you to take on a whole gang like that." She meets his gaze, a mixture of gratitude and determination in her eyes. "I didn't want to fight, Sheriff. But they left me no choice. This is my home, and I'll do whatever it takes to protect it." The sheriff studies her for a moment, understanding the weight of her words. I get it. But you should have called us sooner. You didn't have to handle this alone. Sarah shakes her head. I know. But I wasn't going to let them think they could just walk in here and take what's mine. Weller sighs, glancing back at the captured outlaws being loaded into the patrol cars. Well, at least now they know better. We'll make sure they don't come back. But keep your guard up. There are always more out there. I will, she assures him, her voice resolute. I'll always be ready. As the last of the gang members are taken away, Sarah feels a sense of closure wash over her. The threat has been neutralized, but she knows that her vigilance must remain. With a final glance at the sheriff, she turns back to her farmhouse, where the warm light glows like a beacon of safety. She steps inside, closing the door behind her, knowing that for now, her home is secure. And as she looks out into the night, she feels a renewed sense of strength, a warrior spirit awakened within her, ready to face whatever challenges may come her way. You all right, Sarah? She exhales slowly. Yeah, she says. Just another night on the farm. But it's not just another night. Because, by sunrise, for months, people had of the outlaws. But now, the farmers for the first time in a long time, and at the heart of it all, not just a single mother, not just a farmer, but and that evening with Jake, the boy. I never really knew, Mom, Jake says quietly. I mean, I knew you were in the army, but I didn't know you were like this. Sarah wraps an arm around him. I didn't want you to, she admits. I wanted you to have a normal life. Jake looks up at her. Is this normal? He asks with a small grin. Sarah chuckles. Not exactly. Silence stretches between them, but it's a comfortable one. Then, come on, she says. I've got something to show you. She leads Jake to the barn, where inside. Jake's eyes widen. Are you gonna teach me? He asks. I never really knew, Mom, Jake says quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. I mean, I knew you were in the army, but I didn't know you were like this. Sarah looks down at her son, a wave of emotions washing over her. She wraps an arm around him, pulling him close. I didn't want you to know, she admits, her voice soft. I wanted you to have a normal life. A life where you didn't have to worry about the dangers that come with my past. Jake tilts his head up to meet her gaze, his eyes sparkling with curiosity. Is this normal? He asks, a small grin breaking across his face, his innocent spirit shining through despite the weight of the day's events. Sarah chuckles, unable to suppress a smile. Not exactly. But it's our normal, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. Silence stretches between them, but it's a comfortable one, filled with unspoken understanding and the bond that has only strengthened through their trials. Then, breaking the moment, Sarah's eyes light up with an idea. Come on, she says, her voice taking on an excited tone. I've got something to show you. She leads Jake to the barn, her heart racing with anticipation. Inside, as they step through the creaky wooden doors, Jake's eyes widen in amazement. The barn is more than just a storage space for tools and feed. It's a treasure trove of memories and lessons waiting to be shared. What is it? He asks, his voice filled with awe. Just wait and see, Sarah replies, grinning as she steps to the side, revealing a hidden corner of the barn. In the dim light, they find a neatly organized area filled with equipment from Sarah's past. An old military duffel bag, a set of worn-out tactical gear, and, most importantly, a collection of targets set up for practice. Whoa, Jake breathes, taking it all in. Are you gonna teach me? Sarah kneels beside him, meeting his wide-eyed excitement with her own. Yes, but not just shooting. I want you to understand discipline, focus, and how to protect yourself. It's important to be prepared for anything, Jake. He nods, his expression serious now as he absorbs her words. I want to learn, Mom. I want to be strong like you. Her heart swells with pride. And you will be. But it's not just about strength. It's about using your mind and making smart choices. Remember, being strong means knowing when to fight and when to walk away. Jake watches her closely, the admiration clear in his eyes. I get it. I promise I'll listen. Good, she replies, standing up and ruffling his hair affectionately. First things first, let's start with some basic skills. Safety comes first. Together, they begin to set up the targets, the sound of laughter and shared excitement echoing through the barn. In that moment, Sarah feels a sense of peace settle in her heart. She's passing on not just skills, but values, preparing Jake for a world that can be unpredictable, just like their own journey. And as the sun sets outside, casting a golden glow through the barn's windows, the two of them stand side by side, ready to forge a new path together. This is their normal, and in its own way, it feels like home. Sarah nods. "You don't need to start a fight," she tells him, "but you should always be ready to finish one." Jake's grin grows. He takes the wooden baton in his hands. Because after tonight, he understands something he never did before. And one day, months have passed, and the fields, once threatened by outlaws, now the town, once gripped by fear, and at the center of it all? Sarah Mitchell. She's no longer just she's the reason the people around her, because now? Out behind the barn, a group of townsfolk, Sarah walks between them, correcting their stances, adjusting their grips on wooden training weapons. "You're not fighting to win," she tells them. "You're fighting to survive." Jake stands nearby, practicing the moves she's taught him, his small frame moving with newfound confidence. Sarah watches him, a swell in her chest. This farm isn't just her home anymore. It's a place where people, but peace is always. One afternoon, tall, broad-shouldered, he stops a few yards away, his eyes scanning the land. "Heard this place is run by a Green Beret," he says, his voice calm but edged with something deeper. Sarah studies him, instantly recognizing the way his eyes. "He's a soldier." "Who's asking?" she replies, wiping sweat from her brow. The man smirks. Sarah considers him for a long moment before nodding toward the barn. "Then you came to the right place. It's a place where people come to escape the chaos of the outside world, seeking solace in the tranquility of rural life." The rolling fields stretch out under the vast sky, the gentle sounds of nature providing a backdrop to the hard work and dedication that fills each day. But peace is always fragile, easily disrupted by the shadows that linger just out of sight. One afternoon, as Sarah tends to her chores, she notices a figure approaching in the distance. Tall, broad-shouldered. He moves with a purposeful gait, the kind that commands attention. He stops a few yards away, his eyes scanning the land with a sharp intensity that sends a flicker of unease through Sarah. "Heard this place is run by a Green Beret," he says, his voice calm but edged with something deeper, something that makes her instincts flare. Sarah studies him, instantly recognizing the way he holds himself, the subtle tension in his shoulders, the way his eyes dart around, taking in every detail of her property. He's a soldier. She can tell, even from this distance. "Who's asking?" she replies, wiping the sweat from her brow and squaring her shoulders, refusing to show any sign of weakness. The man smirks, a knowing smile that sends a chill down her spine. "Just someone interested in the land. I've heard stories about you, Sarah Mitchell." Her heart races. She's not one to be easily intimidated, but there's something about this man that feels different. He's not just another random stranger. Sarah considers him for a long moment, weighing her options. There's no reason to let her guard down. She's worked hard to create a safe haven for herself and Jake, and she won't let anyone disrupt that. "Then you came to the right place," she finally says, nodding toward the barn, her voice steady. "But I don't take kindly to intruders." As they walk toward the barn, the tension between them thickens. Each step feels loaded with unspoken challenges, and Sarah can sense that this encounter could change everything. Inside the barn, the light filters through the dusty windows, casting long shadows across the wooden floor. The air is filled with a familiar sense of hay and old machinery, but now it carries an undercurrent of something more ominous. "So, what brings you to my farm?" Sarah asks, crossing her arms defiantly. The man leans against a wooden beam, the smirk fading from his face as he studies her. "I'm looking for a fresh start. Thought maybe you could help me out." She raises an eyebrow, skepticism etched on her features. "Help you out? Why would I do that?" His gaze sharpens, revealing a flicker of vulnerability beneath his tough exterior. "Because we're not so different, you and I. We both know how to survive in this world." Sarah narrows her eyes, trying to gauge his intentions. Survival doesn't come without a price. You've got to prove yourself first. The man straightens up, the weight of her words hanging in the air. I'm willing to earn my keep. Just give me a chance. As she studies him, Sarah feels a mix of caution and curiosity. Maybe he could be an ally, but then again, he could just as easily be a threat. Trust isn't something she offers lightly, especially after everything she's fought to protect. All right, she finally says, her voice firm. You can stay for now. But remember this, if you step out of line, I won't hesitate to show you just how fierce a Green Beret can be. The man nods, respect flickering in his eyes. Understood. I'll do my best to prove I'm worth it. With that, an unspoken agreement forms between them. The path ahead is uncertain, but as long as they maintain their focus, perhaps they can forge a partnership that benefits them both. As the sun begins to set outside, casting a warm glow across the barn, Sarah feels a renewed sense of purpose. Peace may be fragile, but she's ready to protect what's hers, even if it means navigating the complexities of new alliances. The world may be unpredictable, but in this moment, she knows she's not alone. As the sun sets, a cold wind sweeps through the fields. And for the first time in months, she feels it. Trouble isn't done with her yet. And when it comes,